This trash container is locked. The sliding lid has a padlock that says, whirling in rags. There's something in there, not necessarily connected to the case, but still. The body is downwind from here. Maybe you prefer the smell of garbage to the smell of death.
Trash, food waste from the cafeteria. They lock these containers to keep the derelicts from flocking in. Could be evidence too. We could try using a pry bar. There's one in my motor carriage, or... We might want to ask for a key from the manager of the Whirling in Rags. He probably has one. And he also has information.
A man in his late 20s with a thin, unimpressive beard notices you approaching. He drops the ledger he was holding and turns to the lieutenant.
Mr. Turn to this theory at a later time, officer. This here was about the trash container.
What for, Mazov? Are you planning to nationalize my trash container?
It concerns the case. Please cooperate.
Just bring them back once you're done, please.
This trash container is locked. The sliding lid has a padlock that says, whirling in rags. With a well-oiled crack, the lock pops open. It should now be possible to simply raise the lid. Don't. Maybe you shouldn't. The smell of rotten food rises to greet you. You see soggy cartons, dirty rags, and organic waste.
We're just in time. This hasn't been emptied for over a week.
It's just organic waste, cold and slimy on your hands. Apple and potato peels, mostly. Unidentified sludge, and the occasional chicken bone thrown in for good measure. But hey, nothing. It's nothing. Nothing more to see here. What's this? A blue piece of plastic sticks out from the apple peels. It's shiny. Looks like the corner of something. Something larger. A clipboard. A blue plastic clipboard with moist papers hanging from it. They look badly damaged, but you can still make out forms and notes, written in a man's handwriting.
Officer, is that your paperwork? It is. Look. The plastic has the RCM street grid on it. You've even got an autopsy form in there. If you don't mind me asking, how did this get in the trash? What are you talking about? Doeth thou also thorough inventories? You should take stock of your notes. Make sure it's all there. Official notes contain informants' names. If some of it has fallen into the hands of the RCM's adversaries, bloodletting may well ensue. I see, yes. You are what we call a badass, aren't you? Tell me, seeth your badass more in there, or are we done here? Ah, yes, and it would also be appropriate to start taking notes on the case. It's what cops do.
The container sounds a muffled gong.
We should return later, officer. I don't think we were thorough enough. There may be more in there.
It's the ledger you found in the trash. A pitiful cabbage of white and yellow papers hanging from plastic board, plastic easily. All you have to do is shake it off your finger and voila, the ledger now looks marginally better. An aluminium block runs the width of the board, biting down on the paperwork. Its crocodile teeth are the only thing keeping the papers together. A regular pencil, the tip worn down to nothing, has been attached to the clip. The surface is interrupted by a silvery sticker. It's rectangular, sparkling with iridescence. You don't know how you didn't notice it before. Looks like an official mark, made to be low visibility outside the right circumstances.
What? That thing. It's a halogen watermark. We use it for adding information to RCM property. Any capable light with the right wavelength will do. All RCM vehicles have headlights designed to reveal halogen watermarks. Mine too.
This means you can read the watermarks if you just turn the lights on.
It depends. Aside from an anti-counterfeiting stamp, mine has my station number and address. The information varies by date of issue.
How many years you've been on the force, he's thinking. It'll have that.
Okay.
While a bunch of sodden papers sag from the clipboard in your hand, it's... Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone, a pull-out toolbox, and the...
All right. Ready? I turn, you press start. It's next to the preheater.
The dashboard lights up with orange glow. The rounds per minute gauge jumps, and the engine of the Caprice Kinema comes to life with a whiny growl. Like a leopard waking from its sleep, yawning and roaring at the same time. The lights unfold with a little click, casting electrical light onto the ground before the vehicle.
There you go. I'll turn them off from the remote once you're done. We just need to stand in front of the machine now.
As you hold your ledger's clip under the headlamp, an iridescent hologram appears. A street grid and the veins of a great river. A familiar sensation washes over you.
There she is. Revachol West.
Around the borders of the watermark are dozens, no, hundreds of micro-perforations. There are many of them, and they are divided into 3 separate rows. The first row has 18 dots. The next is the longest. It runs all the way around the border, and then some. There are so many, it's hard to count. More than 150, at least. Maybe even 200. The last row has 3 perforations. That's it.
Those are perforations. They represent your record as an officer of the RCM. They are your statistics, as it were. I should have guessed you'd keep a record. Officers often do. Let's take a look. The first row represents your years of service. 18 years. Okay, not bad at all. What did you do before you volunteered? Cool. I'm glad you joined us. Not a lot of money in doom crying. Let's move on, shall we? This next row, the one that wraps all the way around, is your number of closed cases. Closed is good. It means finished. You've got, let's see... Wow, more than 200! It's quite a lot, even for someone who's been on the force for nearly 2 decades. Usually, clearing more than 10 cases a year puts you in the 90th percentile of all RCM officers. Right. Those are your confirmed kills. You've got precisely 3 perforations there. For an RCM officer, especially Precinct 41, which is in the Jamrock quarter, it's rather tame. I mean that in a good way. There are certain officers who treat their kills like some kind of ghoulish game. If they do happen to solve a case, it's usually by accident. But it seems as though you are, or at least were, one of the good ones. So we have that to be thankful for.
The lieutenant nods.
Right. I'll go turn off the lights.
It's the ledger you found in the trash. They're not exactly white. They're yellowed in patches by sunlight and alcohol and covered in dense blue handwriting. Once in a while, there's a red stamp that exclaims, "Case files commit to paper." The case file, work, strife, poverty. It's the middle of March. You have a What do you mean? Is that all? There is, for precisely one more. 15 pages near the end remain untouched by the damage. The checkered grid forms a structure of passages, breaking the case into subtasks to accomplish. Sadly, the ledger only comes with an old, worn-down lead pencil. It's unfitting of this monumental event. The ledger only comes with an old, worn-down lead pencil. It will do, barely. But onto the paper with a brash free hand, uncannily similar to the rest of the letters. The wording comes easily. It's almost robotically simple, a language developed for mental rigor and simplicity. Inspect the victim's body. Interview the cafeteria manager. It's not exactly poetry, but poetry would be out of place. A satisfying slash sounds across the paper. You're done, it seems to say. And you, and you. You're a swashbuckler with that pen, Harry, and it feels good. Feels like completion. Things to be done and things already done. The composition of reality. This is an extremely useful tool for a detective of the citizens' militia. Now all that remains is to name the case.
No, actually. Any ideas? Oh, well, then maybe I can suggest one. Okay then. The case doesn't need to have a name.
You don't exactly close them, so much as this.
Yes? Me? I don't see how my life is pertinent to the investigation. Binocular? Is that how they do things over at the 41st? No wonder your clearance rate is so low.
No response. He just arches his brow.
Have you tried concentrating on something other than your personal affairs?
There is a sudden, harsh edge to his voice, like he's tired of hearing about your personal affairs.
Really? You look fine to me. Focus on other people's troubles, not your own. That is a relief.
A moment passes. The lieutenant glances at the sports watch on his...
Welcome to Revachol.
Don't you welcome to Revachol me. My grandfather came here from a 3,000-year-old racist isolationist culture, while your ancestors came to this island a mere 300 years ago. Every school of thought and government has failed in the city, but I love it nonetheless. It belongs to me as much as it belongs to you.
Oh, come on, man. I just said welcome to Revachol. It's a lorry driver thing.
I know exactly what you meant. You think my kind doesn't belong here, that I should watch myself and behave. But you see, I'm an officer of the RCM. It's actually my job to make sure you behave. I would advise you to remember that.
Silence. The air between them becomes tense. Your partner needs backup. Now's your moment to shine.
I haven't learned anything I didn't know before.
The lieutenant exhales and resumes his regular calmness.
Whatever you say, officers.
He smells of heavy motor oils and his breath of high tar content cigarettes, probably Astra Whites.
It's about biological determinism, natural law, the sorting of the races. Not the most popular topic nowadays, with a coalition in charge, you know. You might want to change the topic. That is, bury your head under the sand like common sheep. I'm not just racist. Look, I've read books, huh? The science of racial theory has all been proved, even if some people don't want to accept it. People who've studied these things say that you and me are superior by design. So, naturally, we Occidentals should be in charge. Obviously, you can see the merits in that.
Oh?
Good. If we, the evening people, pull together, we can form a bulwark against these troubled times. Root out...
Lieutenant Kitsuragi's stern expression remains unchanged, but
When you said before that you were down with racism, was it meant in earnest, or were you just trying to win his confidence? So you don't find his views, say, unbefitting of a police officer?
okay. Feels like this is going to be a discussion now.
And what point would that be?
Wait a second. Are you sure you want to go there? Even if you succeed, you're going to fail. Are you sure about that? Here we go. Zoom in on the mixed races part. It's the best one.
I'm going to stop this conversation. This is Martinez. People have certain attitudes here. You will find plenty of citizens to agree with you. As for me,